The hidden psychology of luck. Two people walk past the same cafe on the same morning. Outside on the pavement, there is a crisp $5 note lying on the ground. Both people walk right past it. One of them notices it, picks it up, walks inside, buys a coffee, strikes up a conversation with the person next to them, who turns out to be someone that changes the direction of their career. The other person walks straight past, sees nothing, goes to work, has an ordinary day, same street, same morning, same opportunity sitting right there on the pavement. One person's life quietly shifts. The other's doesn't. We would call the first person lucky. But what if luck had nothing to do with it? This is not a hypothetical story. It is a real experiment conducted by Dr. Richard Wiseman, professor of psychology at the University of Hertfordshire, a man who spent an entire decade of his career doing something nobody had ever done before. He studied luck scientifically. Wiseman placed advertisements in newspapers and magazines asking for people who considered themselves consistently very lucky or consistently very unlucky. Hundreds responded. He then put both groups through a remarkable series of experiments, and what he found dismantled almost everything we think we know about fortune, chance, and why some lives seem to overflow with opportunity while others seem to run dry. His central conclusion, after a decade of research and thousands of experiments, was both simple and staggering. Lucky people are not lucky because the universe favors them. They are lucky because of four measurable, learnable psychological principles that cause them to generate their own good fortune, consistently, repeatedly, and almost entirely without realizing it. Let's start with the most remarkable experiment. Wiseman gave both groups, the lucky people and the unlucky people, a newspaper and a simple task. Count the number of photographs inside. He would pay them if they got it right. The unlucky group spent an average of 2 minutes carefully counting every photograph in the paper. The lucky group finished in seconds. Why? Because on page 2 of the newspaper, in enormous bold type, was a message that read, "Stop counting. There are 43 photographs in this newspaper." The lucky people saw it immediately, stopped, claimed the reward. The unlucky people, heads down, laser-focused on their task, flipped straight past it. Some of them even turned that page and kept counting. And hidden halfway through the paper was a second message. "Stop counting. Tell the experimenter you have seen this and win $250. Almost none of the unlucky people saw it. Same newspaper. Same opportunity on every single page. Completely invisible to one group and immediately obvious to the other. So what was actually different between them? Wiseman found the answer in personality data. Lucky people scored dramatically lower on one particular psychological trait, neuroticism. In practical terms, they were significantly more relaxed, more open, and less anxious than the unlucky group. And here is why that matters so profoundly. Anxiety has a sneaky way of making people feel unlucky. When you are anxious or worried, your focus narrows. Your brain goes into survival mode and pays attention only to perceived threats. The unlucky people in Wiseman's newspaper experiment weren't less intelligent. They weren't less capable. They were simply more tense, more locked onto the specific task in front of them. And that tension acted like a pair of blinkers, filtering out everything that wasn't directly relevant to what they were already looking for. The lucky people, more relaxed and open, were seeing what was actually there, rather than only what they were searching for. Lucky people are more relaxed and open, and therefore see what is there rather than just what they are looking for. Opportunity, it turns out, doesn't announce itself. It sits quietly on page 2, in plain sight, waiting to be noticed by someone whose attention isn't already fully consumed. The second principle Wiseman identified was about networks, and it connects to some of the most important research in social science. Lucky people engage in behaviors that open them up to new experiences. They are generally extroverted, they talk to lots of people, attract people to them, and maintain a solid network. In contrast, unlucky people spend more time alone and embrace routines. This connects directly to sociologist Mark Granovetter's landmark research on what he called the strength of weak ties. Job opportunities and breakthrough information flow disproportionately through acquaintances rather than close contacts, because weak ties connect people to entirely new clusters of information and opportunity that their immediate circle cannot provide. The colleague you see every day is likely to know the same things you know. The person you met once at a conference is far more likely to introduce you to something genuinely new. Lucky people, whether consciously or not, are constantly expanding the surface area through which good fortune can reach them. Every new person they speak to, every routine they vary, every unfamiliar room they walk into, Each one is another open door that unlucky people, locked into familiar patterns, simply never approach. A 2010 study published in Personality and Individual Differences confirmed this, finding that openness to experience was the strongest personality predictor of self-reported luck. People who scored high on this dimension reported more lucky events, more serendipitous encounters, and a greater sense that the universe was generally working in their favor. This makes mathematical sense. If you eat at the same restaurant every week, take the same route to work, and talk to the same 5 people, your opportunities for lucky encounters are mathematically limited. Variety and novelty expand the playing field. The third principle is perhaps the most psychologically powerful, and it connects everything we've explored in this series back to a single thread. Lucky people create self-fulfilling prophecies through positive expectations. They expect things to work out. They expect the meeting to go well, the conversation to be interesting, the opportunity to be worth pursuing. And that expectation, as we now know from the placebo research, the Pygmalion effect research, and the optimism data, is not just a feeling. It changes how they walk into a room, how openly they engage, how long they persist when something gets difficult, how they interpret a setback, as a dead end or as a detour. Unlucky people often miss opportunities because they are too focused on what could go wrong or fixated on past misfortunes. Their expectation of bad luck becomes the instruction their nervous system follows, narrowing attention, reducing openness, shortening persistence, and the bad luck duly arrives, confirming everything they already believed. The lucky person's expectation does the opposite. It keeps the doors open. It keeps the attention wide. It keeps them in the room long enough for the opportunity to appear. The fourth and final principle is the one that reveals the true character of lucky people most clearly. They turn bad luck into good when things go wrong. And they do, for lucky and unlucky people alike. Lucky people employ a set of psychological responses that the unlucky don't. They spontaneously imagine how things could have been worse. They don't dwell. They look for the lesson, the pivot, the unexpected door that just opened because this one closed. This isn't denial. It's a genuine psychological skill, one that keeps them moving forward rather than anchoring them to the past. Now here is the most hopeful finding of all. After identifying these 4 principles, Wiseman wanted to know if they could be taught. He created what he called Luck School, a program where self-identified unlucky people were coached to think and behave like lucky people. They kept a luck journal, writing down the most positive thing that happened each day. They were asked to vary their routines, talk to new people, and actively notice unexpected opportunities. They practiced relaxation. They worked on expecting good outcomes. The results were remarkable. Almost all participants reported significant life changes, including increased levels of self-esteem, physical well-being, confidence, and success. People who had considered themselves unlucky their entire lives, who had built an entire identity around misfortune, experienced measurable shifts in their luck within weeks. Not because the universe changed, because they did. So here is the truth that a decade of scientific research landed on. Luck is not something that happens to you. It is something that flows through the life you are already building, through your openness, your networks, your expectations, and your willingness to keep going when things go wrong. The 5-pound note is already on the pavement. The message is already on page 2. The question is simply whether you are relaxed enough, open enough, and expectant enough to see it. Because the lucky ones aren't seeing a different world. They're seeing the same world differently. And that, according to the science, is a skill you can learn starting today. Are you a lucky person? Comment below. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more.